Welcome to the Tack-On Pulse, and in this video we're going to be talking about the biggest problem with Star Trek. There are lots and lots of problems with this franchise, from Discovery to Picard to Strange New Worlds. But there is one massive decision, one massive problem that is ruining everything. Let's get stuck into it.
Our tachyon pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.
To me, the problem with Discovery was threefold. Firstly, we had a bunch of characters that I did not care about in the slightest, other than Saru and Giorgio. I loved Giorgio. The rest of the crew, I couldn't tell you their names, except for Michael Burnham, but only because the name was so weird. If genuinely had an episode where... Booker, I remember Booker. If we have an episode where, Booker's sad and might die. Okay. There's an episode where Michael Burnham's going to cry again. Okay. There's an episode where Saru might die. Okay, I care a bit, but not enough to watch the show. Secondly, the story arcs were ridiculous at times. The burn, for example. It's just stupid. What were the creators thinking? And to be honest, Discovery took itself too seriously. It's the opposite to Strange New Worlds, in that it really, I think, thought it was like high-end sci-fi, where it just wasn't. So yeah, Discovery failed on three parts. Picard season 1 and 2 failed again because of the creators, and there's going to be a regular theme through this. The storylines in both of those seasons were just not very good. They rushed the end of season 1. They made Picard an android, which is just, honestly, that must have been a 3 o'clock in the morning decision. Like, we'll just make him an android, sod it. Yeah, Picard season 1 and 2, awful. Picard season 3 was actually entertaining Star Trek and remembered to be Star Trek. That shows really what happens when Terry Matalas, a Star Trek fan, could be in charge. Even though remembering he wrote an awful lot of season 2, so I got too excited. But, brilliant. Strange New Worlds, off the back of the second season of Discovery, started really well. It's got characters I really, really care about. Now, the first season was better than the second season, but my favourite episode of Star Trek, the Lower Decks crossover, was just glorious. Favourite episode in New Trek. Let's not get too excited with that. Let's not go over the top. But it was just a really, really lovely episode of Star Trek. It felt like an original series episode in lots of ways, because they straight up copied an original series episode, which again is something I'm going to come back to. But even though it had its ups and downs, the first 2 seasons were really good. This season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds isn't. And I'm going to explain this because individually there are lots of things to like about this episode, and I genuinely did a video a couple of weeks ago saying 3 good episodes of Star Trek in a row. My God, they haven't done that for a while. And a lot of you guys went, really? These episodes are not very good. What are you talking about? So I had to go back and watch them again. And I was like, no, there's bits in these episodes I really like. And there's things in these episodes that I actually thought were, really, really well done. But there's also an awful lot in here that doesn't fit. And I asked myself the question, are these good episodes, or are these good Star Trek episodes? And that's where Strange New Worlds fell down, and is falling down in the 3rd season. They might be actually individually quite funny, quite clever, well put together, well made episodes of television. They're not Star Trek. Now, obviously, all of these problems come down to the creators, the writers, Kurtzman, etc. But I'm trying to figure out what is their major mistake. What did they actually do wrong that is ruining these TV shows? For Strange New Worlds, it does come down to the genre-bending attitude towards this show. That the creators have very clearly said, and Anson Mount actually said at one point, that Star Trek has now almost become a genre on its own. No, it hasn't. It's sci-fi. What are you talking about? It has a style all of its own, but it is not a genre. The genre is supposed to be sci-fi. And that's my problem. Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3 is not Star Trek, and it's barely sci-fi. I watched a video a couple of weeks ago, and they basically said It's the characters. It's a character-driven show instead of a situation-driven show. That we are not learning about these characters through the different situations that Star Trek presents, their different dangers, etc. They're doing character first and a sort of situation second. And I would agree with that. This show has become a comedic, character-driven, nearly sci-fi TV show. There are lots of different things going on, but the main thing is with this season 3 in particular, that it's become a comedy. Now, I like Anson Mount as Captain Pike, but do you remember in the first season there was a bit where he did this sort of like pirate, like bit, sat in the captain's chair? Could you imagine Janeway, Picard, Sisko, or even Kirk doing that while sat in the captain's chair? The problem with it is they allowed to do something that was genuinely very funny, but they disconnected themselves from the disbelief. They did something that would not happen on a starship in space. It just wouldn't. And that's the problem, that you can have humorous bits but still make sense within the genre, within the situation. You have some episodes that have funny moments because real life has humour. Aboard a starship, a military vessel, even on Earth now, there is humour. You can find it. But you wouldn't have the captain of the USS Enterprise aircraft carrier at the moment doing pirate impressions on the bridge. Star Trek used to know that. It doesn't anymore. And they've gone to an extreme, and I think I know why. I think it's down to the Strange New Worlds Lower Decks crossover episode. Because that episode was so well received and so popular that basically it's given them permission to do what they're doing in season 3. The problem is that it's just too much of that. They're trying to do that episode again, while remaking all of the original series episodes and sprinkling in a bit of TNG, like Best of Both Worlds and stuff in there. But they're still trying to make all of them, funny. The last episode, with Spock with another romantic problem, which again is overtaking the entire series but not the main problem, is getting boring now. Ethan Peck is an actor I really like, but Spock, based on one scene from the original series with Nurse Chapel, has now become this lovesick puppy, and it's not the Spock we know at all, but also it's boring. It's too much of that crap. It does feel to me that, yes, again, this boils down to the creators not knowing what Star Trek's supposed to be and playing with it like, you know, they found someone else's toy on the ground and they're just like treating it however they like. But it just seems to me that they're trying to do something for a younger audience, for a different audience. And this really is, for me, the main problem with Star Trek, Picard, Disco, all the way through. They've decided to ignore Star Trek fans. And they're very open about it. They're very honest about it. They have decided that Star Trek fans don't matter. And all that matters is getting new Star Trek fans. Which, don't get me wrong, is important. But like Kevin Costner on that baseball pitch, if you build it, they will come. Star Trek is the same. If you build a good Star Trek show with the foundation of Star Trek fans, the rest will come. How do you think TNG excited and created a whole new fan base of Star Trek fans? Because it was good. Because it had enough in there for the original series Trekkies to fall in love with. But it was good television. So it attracted a whole new generation of geeks. And we're out there, baby. We're still out there even today. The problem is that they've forgotten to build the foundation. They're just running after those new fans. And that's why Star Trek is failing. The creative decisions are poor. The writing isn't great at times. What they do with a lot of these characters trying to chase laughs at times is annoying. The genre bending stuff is annoying and ruining the show. But it's the decision to ignore the Star Trek fans that's the main problem. But guys, get into the comments and tell me what you think. You can't just sit here, well you can if you want, but for me, I wouldn't just sit here and go, it's all rubbish, it's all crap, the writing's terrible, blah blah. I want to figure out what the main problem is, and I want to see if these idiots can fix it. I don't think they can. Hoping Skydance can. But get into the comments, tell me what you think. Am I talking sense, or is there actually a bigger problem that I'm missing? Get into the comments and tell me exactly what you think. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out, and you'll never miss any of our new videos. Also, you can become a member of the channel and get to see a lot of these videos before everybody else. Go check that out. As always, please stay safe, and I'll see you next time.
Our tachyon pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.